Hi there guys, Lax here from the Subs Podcast.
Ish from the Subs Podcast.
Where the subs have their say. We're here to go through game week 3 of the Premier League, and wow, what a roller coaster it's been. So we're going to start off with the 12:30 kickoff, Chelsea versus Fulham. What's your thoughts?
Wow, Fulham and Chelsea, even last season, I think Fulham gave them a really tough game and I think even came away with a win at the end. So my predictions are, after seeing sort of Chelsea wobble and shake a little bit in the previous home game, it feels like this could be a draw on the cards for me. So I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Fair enough. Chelsea, I must admit, they're looking good at the moment. I think West Ham, they just absolutely blew them out of the water, right? So I think a West London derby is always going to be quite good for the match. I think a lot of the teams there are going to be really up for it. I think Fulham's depth might let them down, so I'm going to go for 2-1 Chelsea. And then the next game on game week 3 is Man United versus Burnley.
Wow. How do we call this? I mean, after that great performance they put in against Grimsby, I think they reached their level. I think, fourth tier football team is sort of at the level they're currently at. But all jokes aside, wow, I think United have to bounce back. I think the Old Trafford sort of faithful aren't going to allow them to sort of just sit back and do nothing and get a result like that. But then there's a lot of pressure on them now, and I think after midweek's game, I think it's going to be a tough ask. So again, I might go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I thought, oh God, I'm trying to look for my tactics board earlier, but I haven't got it, unfortunately. Maybe Ruben Amorim can help me out there. To hear his reaction from what the game was against Grimsby midweek is just, oh yeah, God. I think for me, that's probably the worst performance I've ever seen for United, in just regards of the capacity of the club and what they're all about, right? You cannot do that, right? We've all seen the memes. They're absolutely incredible, and to think that United literally only have the Premier League and the FA Cup to go for this season and no Europe. On our last discussion, I put the comparability of what Conte did when he went to Chelsea, and even in the same formation, right? But God, it's just not looking good for United. I'm going to go for a 1-0 United. They're going to have to react, but I think Burnley are going to give them a hell of a game. To the question of that, who actually gets the goal will be fascinating, right? I think the only out-and-out goal scorer throughout their campaign right now has been Mbeumo, so maybe it's Cunha's time to get a goal, but I can't see a lot of goals in that game. So the 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday is Sunderland versus Brentford. What's your thoughts?
Wow, at Sunderland, and seeing how they performed in the last game and previous, they seem like they're not going to roll over for anyone. They're here to mean business in the Premier League, and they're not going to just roll over for anyone. So I actually think this one's going to be a very feisty affair. I think Brentford are playing really well. Both teams, with full strength squads. It's game week 3, so I think this is going to be a very, very high intense game, and I'm probably going to side with Sunderland. I think at home, their crowd, I think it's going to be a 2-1.
Part of me wants to agree. I think the stadium light is just a fantastic stadium. We all saw what happened earlier in the season with West Ham, and I said it previously on some of our predictions and previews of the game weeks. That's probably where Sunderland are going to get their results from, are at home. So I'm going to go for a 2-2, because I do think Brentford are looking good. I must admit, I do apologise, Brentford fans. I did have you tipped to be relegated. But I think with Wissa, from what I understand, already being told that he's not going to be playing. He's obviously removed all his activity from social media, and how these things happen for players is just a whole nother conversation, right? But I think Brentford have still got something about them. They won't capitulate like West Ham did. But I think the manager will realise that it's going to be a very feisty game, and I think it's just going to be goals galore, so I'm going to go for a 2-2. It's Spurs versus Bournemouth.
Spurs, they've done some really good business in the transfer window with Xavi Simons. It looks like they've got a really great player on their hands and managed to pip him before Chelsea. So, again, I think they also mean business. I think they, under Thomas Frank and after last week's performance against Man City, you can sort of see that there's a definite high energy and a press sort of format to their sort of formation. So I really think they are the ones to watch, I think. So, yeah, I think at home as well, I think 3-0. I think Bournemouth, even with Semenyo, I think will have a say, but I just think after last week's game, I think, Spurs 3-0.
Fair enough. I would like to say that for my FBL team. If I can get some more points from the Spurs guys, fair enough. But with my hat on and seeing what we had to experience against Bournemouth, and the fact that they have scored again in their second game, I think it was a very narrow win against Wolves last week, right? So I'm going to go for a 2-1. I think this might be one of Frank's first major tests. Semenyo getting on the goal sheet is a big potential there. He's had a goal and assist in the last two games. The last two games in the Premier League. So he's definitely up for it. I think there's obviously rumours surrounding him and his future going potentially to Spurs, right? So I think he'll have something to say. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Spurs. Wolves versus Everton.
Well, Wolves aren't looking great. And even at home, I think the pressure's already beginning to mount. And Everton, I think, with Jack Grealish, have that little extra about them. In these sort of games, I think you need a player that could just turn up and offer something different in tight games. It will be a tight game, but I just think Wolves might, even though they had a great game midweek in the Carabao Cup, coming back and winning 3-2 with Larson on the score sheet, I just think this game might be a little bit too much. So I think it'll be a narrow 1-0 loss to Wolves, and I think Everton, will keep that sort of winning mentality going.
I'm going to go for the opposite. I think Wolves have got a chance here. I think they're going to have to get some points on the table. I think Moyes will understand how difficult it is to go to Molineux. Fair enough, obviously, we've seen clubs go there and do well, but something's got to change for Wolves. I think this is going to be their first opportunity to get some points on the board. Might be something to do with this. But I do think it's going to be a 1-0 to Wolves. And the final game on Saturday is Leeds versus Newcastle. That's a really historical fixture. What do you think about the result then?
I'm going for a Newcastle win for sure, because I think after that performance they put up against Liverpool last week at home, I think they're going to be galvanised. I think there's going to be enough there for them to sort of see that they can play some exciting football and put a lot of pressure on teams, even when going down to 10 man. Leeds, I think it's a tough place to go to, but I just think with the way Newcastle are, I think, they'll just have a little bit too much for Leeds. What about you?
For me, Ellen Rowe is going to be massive for Leeds. I think that's a big opportunity for them again to get points. Any of the Championship sides are going to gain points, most likely at home. Losing Gordon is going to be massive for them. It looks like Tonali could be potentially out as well. I think the fact that there's going to be so many changes in that Newcastle squad, fair play, they finally got their striker. What that means to the rest of the league, we'll have to see. I'm going to go for a 1-1, I think Newcastle perhaps will still maybe just get the one goal. I think their confidence might be a bit higher now after playing us and actually scoring some goals. But going to Leeds is never easy. I think Leeds will at least get a goal. So to that point, I think it's going to be a 1-1 Leeds-Newcastle. And the first Sunday game will be Brighton versus Manchester City. What's your thoughts?
Well, with Man City taking that defeat at home, I think Pep's not going to sort of rest easy, and he would have put them through their paces during the week, and I think they're going to be really up for it. I think they need to bounce back. Knowing that Liverpool and Arsenal are playing a couple of hours after them, they just need to get their points on the board and start applying some of that pressure. So I think it's probably going to be a 3-0 to Wolves. It's going to be a 3-0 to Man City.
Fair enough. I'm going to go the opposite. This might not be just me with my Liverpool hat on. I genuinely think this is Brighton's first time to get points this season. They've got very unlucky the first two games. I think they'll be well up for it at home at Brighton. I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Brighton. I think the manager's not under pressure just yet, but I think a result like this will be big for them. I think he's probably seen what happened in the Spurs game. Trafford doesn't look great. And Donnarumma, as much as the rumours have been going around, hasn't happened yet. Will Trafford's confidence be knocked a bit? Their back four is a bit shaky at the moment as well. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Brighton. Nottingham Forest versus West Ham. What's your thoughts?
I think West Ham definitely need a win. Otherwise, I think Graham Potter might be out. But again, it's an away game, so I'm sure the travelling fans will be in full swing and loud voices chanting and giving the team all the support they need. But if they go down to an early goal to Forest, who I think have been playing really well, so I don't see anything other than a Nottingham Forest win. It seems like Nuno has patched things up with the owner. There seems to be hugs and kisses all round, and I think the international break is going to allow for that relationship to be mended further. So yeah, I think I'm going for a Forest 2-0 win.
Fair enough. I tend to agree. Unfortunately, West Ham fans, you just don't look great at the moment. We all saw what happened in the league as well, in the League Cup as well. Bowen's reaction to the fans. The atmosphere is not great at the moment. Fair play. I think obviously you've just signed Fernandez, I believe it is, from Southampton. I do apologise if I pronounced the second name wrong, but that's a player you need to get through the door. I think you've obviously signed about to sign the other midfielder from Monaco. You definitely need legs in the midfield. That midfield does not look great. There was rumours of Souček going out the door as well. It's a bit of an ageing squad at West Ham, and Potter's just not come up with the magic. I had to go for it. I do apologise. But to that point, I'm going to tend to agree with you. Nottingham Forest win. Where the goals come from West Ham, I'm not too sure either. I'm going to go for a 3-0. Nottingham Forest. I think Chris Wood's been looking sharp. I think they've got a lot of good players there, and I think this is an opportunity for them to strut their stuff. And then Sunday, 4:30 kickoff, Liverpool versus Arsenal. Big game. What's your thoughts?
Well, you love big games. I love big games. I mean, this is what it's all about. Some people might be nervous. I think being at home, Anfield, with the fans we've got, I think we shouldn't be worried. Of course, there's some defensive issues we currently have, and those weaknesses have been exposed, in the last two games, conceding goals after leading 2-0. But I think hopefully this week's lot sort of put that to bed and have tweaked certain bits and certain parts of our play, and not to be too vulnerable. But we do look vulnerable in set pieces, and we know how Arsenal are very good corner FC style team. So I mean, it's going to be an interesting and exciting game. I am definitely thinking it's going to be a lot tighter, but a very exciting game nonetheless. I'm going for a 3-1 win to the Mighty Reds.
It's definitely going to be an interesting game. I think for me, it all depends on the lineup from Liverpool. From what I understand, Conor Bradley will be back. McAllister will be back as well. Fair play to Szoboszlai on the last game. Wherever you put the man, he'll actually absolutely do an incredible job for us. He's become such a vital player for Liverpool in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to put my sensible hat on. There's definitely going to be goals. We've averaged at least 2 goals a game in every area so far. I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think Arsenal will be up for it. My only concern is where the goals come from Arsenal. I think with Saka being out, it's a massive blow for them. Gyökeres looked great on the weekend, don't get me wrong, but it's only Leeds. To that point, I think they'll still have something to say about it in the game. Will we see perhaps a debut from Eze as well? Declan Rice and a lot of their midfield does look very good. I was reading something the other day that they've definitely got an A team and a B team, so they've definitely got the depth to at least give us a good game. My sensible hat is a 2-2 prediction. So game week 3's final game is going to be Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace. I think this is Villa's first chance to get a win. I think Crystal Palace flying out midweek and for the Europa Conference is definitely going to affect the squad. No Eze either. At this rate, potentially, is this Mark Gahey's last game, or was it earlier in the week, right? We all know that there's rumours about him potentially going to Liverpool. That disruption in the squad never helps. Travelling midweek as well for a squad that's never experienced anything like that will have some effects on them. And we all know Unai Emery is a great manager. I think he's going to be up for it. It's going to be a late night kickoff. We've mentioned previously about how important a stadium like that is, Villa Park. So I'm going to go for 2-1. I think Villa will still have something in it. My bet maybe is a Mateta to get on the score sheet for Crystal Palace, but I think Aston Villa will nick it in the end.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this is the first time Palace have been in Europe midweek and then straight to a Premier League game. So I think it's going to take their toll on the players, and I think Villa are definitely going to be up for it. And in that stadium, like you said, under the lights, it's a cauldron. It's a stunning atmosphere. So yeah, I don't see anything other than an Aston Villa win. So I'm going for a 2-0 win, and I don't see Palace scoring.
And that's all from us from this week, from Game Week 3. It's been an absolute pleasure these first few weeks of the Premier League. We're excited to see what happens next. Please do like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.